in a lot of ways, what's important is what happens in the heart. And frankly, for myself, I have had my heart buoyed up by those moments where I could look out over a piece of land and see it wasn't going to be destroyed. And it was because of the work that my friends and to some extent myself had done. And there's nothing to give you the energy to want to work further. But I went through a period where a lot of places were being destroyed, and despite everything that I and the people around me had done, felt like there was nothing that we could do. And really my heart became very heavy with the feeling of watching place after place. When you're involved in on the ground forest defense, when you're involved in on the ground forest defense, and you have become intimately involved with that hillside and those trees and that place, and then you pour yourself out to try to stop it, and it doesn't work, and they cut it anyway, to get up the next day and to try to do it again. It's not easy. And recently I walked through a forest, and I had this experience that I haven't had in a long time, which was this sense like, I think we can save this place. Like, I'm willing to fall in love now because I think I can make a difference this time, And it was a feeling that I had censored myself from for years because I didn't have the confidence. I started working on the global level, and I was afraid to walk into a forest, because to walk into a forest and look it over, for me it's like walking away from that is like a defeat right there. But to say you're going to stay and fight is to like pour your heart out for these beings that are there. And I had that experience, and some of the places that I walked and made that vow, they're still here because of that. And then some other places, they're not, and it's a tough balance to keep on moving through that. I've been doing forest activism for about 10 years, and actually during those 10 years, what I've done has changed, because I think what works has changed. When I started working 10 years ago, the stuff I was doing was very direct. We would go out into the forest, and we would use our bodies to stand between the chainsaws and the trees, and that would in some cases be something like a blockade, or at Warner Creek, it was a blockade that lasted for almost a year. What we did is we needed to physically stop the act of destruction right there at the point of destruction. But what we've learned over the years is that we needed to evolve tactically. And what I mean by that is to say that the system is very good at responding to anything that is a threat to the system. And so a lot of people standing up and like locking arms and blocking the bulldozers, blocking the chainsaws, became a threat to the system. And so the system figured out a way around that. And through, unfortunately, brutality, intimidation, fairly strong control over the media, the system was able, through basically these kind of scare tactics, to diminish people's desire to engage in that kind of activity. People don't want their lungs filled with tear gas or their eyes rubbed with pepper spray. People don't want to be beaten with a truncheon or subjected to literally like torture techniques to get them to unlock from a cement-filled barrel. And so over the years, the system, the powers that be, they figured out how to keep people from being very effective on the ground blockading. So then what people did in sort of the next phase is they moved up into the trees. They couldn't block the roads anymore because police could lay their hands on them. So they went up into the trees where people couldn't lay their hands on them. And then tree sitting became a really effective technique for quite some time. And so people figured out how not to just occupy one tree, but to string lines between many trees, and to sit in a platform that was suspended from numerous trees, or to figure out ways to loop all different kinds of trees together in a system that if one tree fell, the rope would break and the whole platform would come down. All these tactics are at the mercy of some sort of humanity on the part of the people that would be cutting the forest. And by removing themselves up into the trees, people were able to hold off a lot of forest destruction. But once again, I think the system figured its way around that. Tree sitting sort of lost its glamour and became kind of old hat, and the media stopped covering it. The powers that be figured out that they could log around tree sits and If you log 95% of the sale and the tree sit stops 5%, well, that's great for that 5%, but that's kind of disheartening for anybody that really loved that forest. So people kind of went through that. And then I think what happened is a lot of people in the forest movement started looking, more broadly. And of course, this has been happening for a long time, but the activism I was involved in started looking at, some of these institutions that were really the controlling influence over global forestry. And so we started concentrating on the North American Wholesale Lumber Association, NAWLA, and we started attending their annual meetings in Dallas, Texas, in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and Chicago, Illinois, going after the executives and letting them know that there was going to be a price to pay in terms of their own comfort, in terms of their own sense of pride in what they do. We were breaking in on their board meetings, busting up their cocktail parties, throwing sawdust in their parties, reading them the riot act at their board meetings, and slipping flyers under their door that were printed up to look like their own newsletters, but that told the truth from our point of view. And so we engaged in that kind of activism for a long time. And so that's the kind of stuff I've been doing over the years. Frankly, right now, what I see sort of post September 11th and just after having done this for, in my case 10 years, but other people for 20, 30 years, is that the media is less inclined than ever to tell the truth from our point of view. The powers that be are more inclined than ever to use brutality to stop civil disobedience. And that has driven some people into the realm of full-on sabotage type tactics. So some people engage in that kind of activity, and for other people, they've backed up, and some people they're looking at the problem more holistically, but other people are sort of reduced to begging and pleading and letter writing and that sort of thing. And sometimes it works. What I know a lot of activists have done, and what I've done myself more in the last couple of years, is get more involved in just community organizing and trying to really get more people involved by just getting right down into the grassroots. But that's great for local areas, and we're doing what we can, but whole huge swaths of the world's forest are falling while we're sitting here trying to figure out what really will work. A lot of people will ask, like, what can we do that matters? And what I've always felt in my heart was everything that we do matters. Just the way we behave throughout the day matters. So we can matter in that little way of like choosing recycled content, or making sure we recycle the paper, or trying not to be involved in the fossil fuel economy, or trying to build in a way that we feel good about and we feel is sustainable. We can engage in those kind of activities, and those can make some sort of difference. And then there's a question of whether or not you want to say, now also, can I pour myself into directly trying to affect the situation that's here? Can I make it not just about my life, but about the lives of other people? Can I steer bureaucrats in a different way? Can I stop logging companies in their tracks? Can I arouse these people over here to get them to stand up and change the way they're doing business? It would be one thing for me to go out and change my practices and live my life in a way that's sustainable. And I say thank you so much to anybody who does that, right? But you want to make that next step? You want to make that next step where it's not just about you, but it starts to get bigger. You start to create a movement within your neighborhood, or a campaign within your community, where now lots of people are saying, oh, well, we all could be changing the way we purchase. We all could be building differently the houses that we're building. We all can be actually standing up to the government that's in our community trying to destroy these forests that are miles down the road, or 100 miles down the road. And so that kind of energy is like a whole nother level for people to go, and it takes a sustenance that comes, I feel, partly from the success of saving places, partly just from the love that the land gives you, and partly from the connection you get with other people who have given their lives over to that kind of work. So that's kind of what sustains me. That's the heart space. It's not always easy.